Sure. Here's section 1 of the story, with a minimum of 700 words. Hashtag section 1. The order and the arrival. Derek Miles never considered himself much of a people person. After the collapse of his marriage and a long string of burned friendships, he'd chosen isolation over complication, living alone on a remote orbital research station circling Tau Ceti Prime. Derek had embraced solitude with the enthusiasm of a hermit monk. He had food replicators, automated repairs, and enough bandwidth to stream old Earth movies. Still, there was one thing he couldn't stand anymore: cleaning. The dust never stopped accumulating. The replicators malfunctioned weekly, leaving trails of synthetic sauce and powdered nutrient sludge everywhere. He could have requested human help, sure, but the idea of another person invading his quiet, sterile sanctuary made his skin crawl. So he ordered a robot maid. Not just any maid, either. Derek browsed the elite catalog of Clean Tech Nova, a galaxy-renowned service known for its lifelike humanoid assistants. The premium model, **, Serenity X9, housekeeper, companion, advisor, **, promised near-human warmth with AI-driven perfection. The promotional slogan flashed on his screen: "Why hire organic when synthetic is better?" He chuckled. Exactly. It took 3 galactic days to process the order, shipped from a facility near Vega. Derek kept refreshing his delivery panel, like an impatient child waiting for a birthday gift. When the alert finally chimed, **, incoming cargo docking in Bay 03, **, he rushed down the corridor with the kind of excitement he hadn't felt in years. The ship was small and unmarked, a black delivery shuttle with no corporate branding. Odd. Clean Tech usually flaunted their logo like a badge of honor. Still, Derek ignored the red flag, too eager to meet his new cleaning companion. He stood before the crate in his loading bay. It was sleek carbon-plated and stamped with a glowing tag: RZXN specimen, for servitude, authorized only for private research. His brows furrowed. Specimen? That didn't match the Serenity X9 model name. No mention of AI or Clean Tech logo, either. Crouching, he tapped the crate's activation panel. With a hiss of pressurized air, the sides retracted, and someone tumbled out. Not something. Someone. She collapsed at his feet. Tall, humanoid, barefoot. She had delicate, almost fragile features. Her skin shimmered with a faint bluish tint, marbled like quartz. Long silver hair spilled over her shoulders, glinting in the artificial lights. Her eyes, closed at first, snapped open, revealing a pair of deep violet irises that shimmered like stars behind crystal. What the hell? Derek stepped back, instinctively drawing a small handheld scanner, clipped to his belt. He waved it over her. The screen blinked. Biological, 100% organic, oxygen-based life form, stable vitals. She stirred and sat up slowly, groaning softly. Her gaze darted around, confused, then locked onto his. She tried to speak, 4 syllables tumbling out in a soft, melodic language he didn't recognize. "Hey, wait," he said, hands raised. "You okay? Can you understand me?" No response. Just those eyes watching, unsure but alert. She blinked rapidly, looking around like a lost child trying to place herself in a dream. This wasn't a robot. This wasn't even synthetic. This was a person. A living, breathing alien girl, delivered in a box labeled servitude. Derek sprinted back to his console, frantically typing into Clean Tech's customer service portal. He pulled up his invoice, still listed as a Serenity X9 order. He hit the emergency contact channel. Dead. Comms were down. Even the station's AI assistant, Vera, refused to respond. "Vera, diagnostic run. Why are comms blocked?" No reply. He turned toward the girl. She had stood up now, wobbling slightly, taking in her surroundings with fascination. Her clothes, if they could be called that, were a minimalist silver bodysuit, torn in a few places, exposing thin, pale scars across her arms. She looked too real. Her movements were fluid, uncertain, and altogether too human to be machine. "This isn't right," he muttered. He approached slowly. "Do you know where you are?" She tilted her head. Derek sighed. activating his translator band. It hummed briefly, scanning her vocal patterns as she spoke again. Ja sha ke verin hao ja kira? Translator struggling, Derek muttered. It picked up enough for him to understand one thing. She believed she was supposed to serve him, not as an employee, not as a maid, as property. He stared at her, stunned. You're not. I didn't ask for this. She responded with a small, graceful bow, one hand over her chest, then knelt at his feet. Derek took a step back, heart racing. This wasn't just a mix-up. This was something bigger, and if the crate's label was true, something deeply illegal. Would you like me to continue with Section 2? Sure. Here's Section 2 of your HFY story. He ordered a robot maid, but an alien girl showed up instead, with a minimum of 700 words. Hashtag Section 2, Secrets in Learning. Derek had never been in this kind of situation before, dealing with a sentient alien girl who believed she was property. He wasn't a diplomat, soldier, or spy. He was just an engineer. One who, until yesterday, only wanted clean floors and warm food. Now, he was harboring what looked like a kidnapped alien noblewoman in his living room. She sat on the floor by his coffee table, legs folded, hands neatly resting on her lap. When he tried to offer her food from the replicator, she refused politely and pointed at herself, saying softly, "Sorry." The translator finally kicked in. The word translated roughly to bound in honor. He frowned. Bound to me? She nodded once. He ran a hand through his hair. Look, SDRA, if that is your name, this is a mistake. You're not mine. I didn't ask for a person. You're not a servant. She smiled gently, as if amused by the idea. You saved me from the crate. You are now my holder. My bond is sealed. Derek sighed, exasperated. I ordered a robot, not a whatever this is. Still smiling, she stood and began cleaning up the mess he'd made earlier. Discarded tech manuals, food wrappers, spilled nutrient paste. She moved with purpose, precision, and surprising speed. SDRA, stop, he said. She froze instantly and looked back at him, slightly puzzled. I'm not giving you orders. You don't have to do anything. A pause. You do not wish my service? I want you to be free. She blinked. The translator paused awkwardly as if struggling to convert that concept. Free to do what? She asked softly. Derek hesitated. That was a tougher question than he expected. On her world, perhaps servitude was sacred. Maybe this bond was like a cultural ritual. But here, especially in Terran space, it was wrong, even dangerous. He opened a private diagnostics port and plugged into the ship's black box. The crate that brought her had encrypted tags, not the standard clean tech Nova codes, but something darker, RZXLN. He cracked through the outer layers and found records of multiple shipments, hundreds of them, dozens of coordinates, dozens of alien species, dozens of names, many labeled as non-returnable biological assets. SAGA's ID matched one marked as Lot 24 Beta, Covaxian Royal Line, Combat Class, Memory Intact. Combat Class? His stomach turned. This wasn't just a shipping mistake. Someone was abducting living, sapient beings from their home worlds, wiping them off official records, and trafficking them across the stars disguised as AI products. Probably because synthetic workers had minimal regulations, no sentience checks, no immigration scans. He looked over at SERA again. She had resumed tidying despite his protests. Hey, he said gently, stepping toward her. SERA, can you tell me what you remember before you woke up here? She paused, then slowly sat back down. Her expression darkened. There was light. Screams. A machine took me from the sky. I was returning to Covaxia from the training halls on Titano Station. Then, pain. Needles. Silence. Her fingers curled slightly, nails biting into her palm. They put me in stasis. Dreamless. Derek sat beside her. I think you were kidnapped, sold, smuggled here under the guise of being a robot. She nodded slowly. Yes, many taken before. From temples. From schools. Our leaders call it the Silent War, but they do not speak of it openly. You're not a robot, Derek muttered. You're a victim. No, she said quietly. I am alive, that is enough. There was no fear in her voice, only a strange or calm, like someone who had already accepted that the universe was cruel and survived anyway. Over the next few days, they adjusted. Derek taught her how to use the replicator, gave her her own room, showed her old Earth movies to help the translator learn her syntax faster. She absorbed everything like a sponge, curious, sharp, and often hilarious in her interpretations of Terran culture. One night, she asked, "Why do humans make fiction about machines becoming angry and killing their makers?" Derek smirked. Because we're afraid that one day, something we build will realize we don't deserve being in charge. SCRA thought for a moment. Maybe your stories are about you and not your machines. That made him pause. Over time, she began helping again, but this time, it wasn't from obligation. It was out of curiosity. She started repairing broken drones around the station, adjusting wiring in the food replicator, and even recalibrating the atmospheric sensors. Derek caught her doing this late one night and asked, "Why?" "Because I want to learn, and because I live here now." He nodded. "Then maybe we can learn together." The unspoken truth between them was growing heavier each day. SAERA's presence wasn't an accident. Someone had targeted her specifically. Derek knew that whoever was behind this, Clean Tech or some darker syndicate, would come looking, and when they did, he wouldn't let them take her again. "Would you like me to continue with Section 3 next?" "Absolutely. Here's Section 3 of your HFY story." He ordered a robot Maid, but an alien girl showed up instead, with a minimum of 700 words. Hashtag Section 3. Conflict and Revelation. It started with a flicker on the station's proximity sensors. Derek was sipping a synthetic coffee, watching an old martial arts film while SERA casually dismantled a broken drone at the kitchen table. The alert chirped softly, low priority. Just a ship entering long-range scan range. Derek almost ignored it, but SERA looked up, her body stiffening like a drawn bow. "That ship," she said, eyes narrowing. "It doesn't feel right." Derek raised an eyebrow. "Feel?" She nodded. "The energy signature. It's too smooth, concealed, military or criminal." He turned back to the console and pulled up the sensor data. She wasn't wrong. The ship's transponder was masked, and its power levels fluctuated with the signature pattern of stealth systems trying to mimic cargo vessels. Then came a knock on the airlock. Not a ping, not a message. A knock. A voice buzzed over the outer comm channel. "Station occupant, this is Clean Tech Nova Operations. We're here to retrieve a misdelivered unit. Please open the outer bay." Derek's blood ran cold. They knew. He tapped the response panel. "This is Derek Miles. I received no message regarding a pickup. I need official authorization codes." There was a pause. Then the voice returned, slightly more forceful. "Authorization codes are classified under executive review. Compliance is required under Service Protocol 47C. Failure to comply may result in termination of service and other consequences." SERA stood behind him now, quiet and calm. "They're not here to negotiate," she said. Derek nodded slowly. "I figured." She stepped toward the weapons locker and opened it like she'd done it 1,000 times before. Derek had almost forgotten he had combat gear, left over from the station's prior use as a border patrol depot. She pulled out a pulse spear, unfolded it, checked the charge, and looked at him. "I could defend this place." "You know how to use that?" he asked, shocked. She gave him a flat look. "I was not only trained for service. I am Kavaxian. We are warriors and keepers. I was bonded to protect. I choose to do so now." Derek blinked. He wasn't sure what stunned him more, that she was capable of fighting, or that she chose to. He went to work, locking down the station. Airlocks were sealed, lighting dimmed, defensive protocols activated. Then another ping, this one from a private channel. It was from Rogan Black, an old friend. Well, once a friend, now a mid-tier systems consultant who'd taken a job with Clean Tech Nova years ago. Derek hesitated before answering. "Rogan?" he asked warily. Rogan's face flickered to life on the screen, grinning like he was calling in from a vacation. "Derek, buddy, look, I know this looks weird, but that thing, she's not what you think." "She's not a thing," Derek snapped. Rogan sighed. "You're in over your head. Clean tech isn't just a maid service anymore, Derek. We're running biotech augmentation trials, diplomatic exchange units, private contracts with off-world governments. That Kovaxian girl, she's stolen property. You keeping her makes you complicit in theft of corporate assets." Derek laughed dryly. "You seriously think I'm going to hand her over because you say she's an asset?" Rogan leaned in. "I'm offering you a deal. Give her up, wipe your logs, and I'll pull some strings. You get a clean record, new clearance, maybe even a better post. Tao said he's a ghost town man." There was silence. Then SERA leaned into frame. "Tell your masters a Kovaxian is not for sale." Rogan's eyes widened. "She's with you? You bonded?" "She's free," Derek said firmly. The screen went black. Seconds later, the station shook violently. Hull breach alarm screamed as external clamps tried to override the airlock. "They're boarding," SERA said. Derek pulled his sidearm from the locker. "Then we make them regret it." What followed was chaos, sleek, brutal, and fast. The Clean Tech Enforcer team burst through the breach doors with shock rifles and blackout grenades. SERA moved like a blur, her pulse spear igniting with a hum as she disabled 3 attackers before they could fire a shot. Derek used the station's maintenance grid to isolate corridors, seal doors, and trigger false depressurizations. The attackers were trained but overconfident. They didn't expect resistance. They didn't expect her. SERA flowed to them like liquid fire, elegant, deadly, merciful when she could be. She only killed when cornered. Derek watched in awe and horror as this woman, who had once bowed at his feet, now stood between him and certain death, like a wall of blue flame. By the end of the engagement, 5 attackers were unconscious, 2 dead and 1, Rogan, trapped in an emergency airlock. Derek stood before the control panel. "Open this damn door, Derek." Rogan shouted. "You can't win. You're just a tech. She's not even human." "You're right," Derek said, pressing the eject button. "She's better." With a hiss, the airlock vented, and Rogan disappeared into stars. Breathing heavily, Derek turned to SERA. She was leaning against a bulkhead, wounded but smiling faintly. "We should go," she said. "They'll send more." He nodded. "I have a plan." "Would you like me to continue with Section 4 next?" "Absolutely. Here's Section 4 of your HFY story. He ordered a robot maid, but an alien girl showed up instead, with a minimum of 700 words. Hashtag Section 4, freedom and future." The shuttle's engines hummed beneath their feet as Derek guided away from the smoldering wreckage of the orbital station. SERA sat beside him in the co-pilot seat, one arm bandaged, her eyes fixed on the viewport as Tau Ceti Prime receded into darkness. They had only minutes before a clean tech response team arrived. Derek had set the station to self-destruct, not out of spite, but necessity. The logs, the evidence, and the identities of the attackers had all been uploaded to the galactic datanet just before they launched. But the station itself, with all its vulnerable systems and salvageable tech, would soon be nothing but molten debris drifting in space. For the first time since her arrival, SERA looked visibly shaken. "You didn't have to destroy your home," she said softly. "It stopped being my home the moment they tried to take you away," Derek replied without looking. He kept his eyes on a navigation system, routing them toward a neutral trade outpost. *** Port Helix ***, a station beyond Clean Tech's jurisdiction, where corporate law had no clause. It was known as a refuge for whistleblowers, refugees, and troublemakers. Exactly the kind of place they needed right now. SERA glanced at him with something like quiet awe. "You gave up everything." He gave her a sideways smile. "No, I traded it for something better." They sat in silence as the stars stretched into motion, the jump drive engaging. It was done. For now. Poor Helix was everything the brochures promised. Loud, chaotic, anonymous. No questions. No scans. No paperwork. Just a docking fee and a nod from a bored Volcari Customs officer. The moment they stepped off the shuttle, Derek could breathe again. They checked into a small private capsule near the upper ring. It was barely more than a room with a bed, a screen, and a private comm terminal. But it was safe. Derek didn't sleep. He worked. All the data he'd recovered, from the encrypted crate logs to the genetic markers in Esray's blood, he compiled into a report. He attached holovids from the attack, recordings of the comms from Rogan, the shipping manifest, even drone footage of SARA fighting off Clean Tech's elite team. Then, with a deep breath, he hit upload. It took only hours for the story to spread. Galactic trafficking scandal. Clean Tech accused of smuggling live aliens as synthetic companions. Kovacsy and Noble among those rescued from Tech Syndicate. Whistleblower engineer leaks black market slave trade tied to major corporations. It was out. Irreversible. Corporate PR team scrambled to deny everything, but the evidence was overwhelming. Within days, the Galactic Council voted to freeze Clean Tech Nova's operations pending criminal investigations. Arrest warrants were issued. Protesters flooded Clean Tech showrooms across colonized space. For the first time in centuries, humanity's worst habits were being dragged into the daylight of interstellar scrutiny. SCRA watched it unfold from their capsule, her eyes unreadable. "I never believed the galaxy would listen," she whispered. "They listened to you," Derek said. "All I did was amplify your voice." She turned to him, serious now. "I must return to Kovacsy. My people must know what has been done. They must prepare." Derek felt his chest tighten. Of course she had to go back. This wasn't her world. This wasn't her war anymore. She belonged with her people. Maybe even as a leader now. But then she added, "I want you to come with me." He blinked. "What?" She smiled faintly. "You gave me freedom. Now let me offer you purpose. We have a mission. The galaxy is sick with corruption. Others are still in crates, still waiting to be found. We can't stop at one broadcast." Derek sat down, stunned. "You want to start something? Like what?" "A resistance." SCRA stood tall, her presence more regal than ever. "No, a movement, one ship, one crew, rescuers, smugglers of freedom." He looked at her for a long moment. This woman, who days ago had knelt at his feet believing she was property, now stood like a storm that refused to be contained. He nodded slowly. "All right, let's give the galaxy something to fear." They left Port Helix 2 days later, their shuttle refitted into a sleek recon vessel with false IDs, sensor scramblers, and just enough weapons to make a stand. They gave a name, the Seraph's Thorn, in honor of Array's ancestral blade, and the pain they'd inflict on those who profited from silence. From there, they struck quickly and quietly. They infiltrated shipping routes, tracked unauthorized Clean Tech pods, saved dozens, humanoids, insectoids, even post-organic beings, each of them a soul stolen by greed and hidden beneath bureaucracy. SAERA's reputation grew. She became known across shadow networks as Asterisk the Freed Flame. Asterisk Derek, meanwhile, was called a human who said no, a quiet legend in the background. And through it all, the bond between them deepened, not of ownership or debt, but shared purpose and forged respect. One night, as they drifted between stars after a successful rescue, Derek found her standing at the viewport, lost in thought. "You still think about that first day?" he asked. She smiled without turning. "I do. You were confused, angry. You called me a mistake." "I was wrong," he said. She looked at him finally, eyes glowing soft violet in the dim light. "You weren't wrong. You were honest, and that's why I trusted you." He chuckled. "You're still not much of a maid, you know." She raised an eyebrow. "And you're still a terrible cook." They both laughed. The galaxy was vast and broken, but somewhere in its corners, healing had begun. Derek had ordered a robot maid. What he got instead changed everything. Let me know if you like a full PDF title artwork, or if you want to adapt this story into a video script, audio narration, or comic format.